Hi, I'm Pastor John from New Life Assembly, and we're continuing in our daily devotional series in the Song of Solomon. Finally, we get to chapter 4. This is the wedding night. And so this chapter and a little bit of the next chapter will get a little more racy than we have gotten in chapters 2 and in 3, with the desire to fulfill physical urges and enjoy one another. Finally, at the end of chapter 3, they have their marriage ceremony, and now chapter 4, the setting is their wedding night. And so let's get into looking at this text in today's part, Song of Solomon 4:1 through 6. It's the man Solomon who is speaking to his bride. Now, I want to be very clear, there's a change in relationship now. They are not just courting anymore, they are married. And so that allows them a freedom in their sexual life that they never had before. So let's get into this and take a look at how this can help a marriage. So my comments will be limited to married couples now, not people who are pledged to be married or who are fiancés. This is for married couples now. Be very clear about this because we're going to talk about some racy stuff. Let's look at the text. The man speaks and says, "Behold, you are beautiful, my love. Behold, you are beautiful. Your eyes are doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from the washing, all of which bear twins, and not one among them has lost its young. Your lips are like a scarlet thread, and your mouth is lovely. Your cheeks are like halves of a pomegranate behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built in rows of stone. On it hang 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your 2 breasts are like 2 fawns, twins of a gazelle, that graze among the lilies. Until the day breathes and the shadows flee, I will go away to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Depart from the peak of Amana, from the peak of Senir and Hermon, from the dens of lions, from the mountains of leopards." And as we get into this now, this is the wedding night. And as we look at their intimate moment, I want to just preface this by telling you that it is very unusual for this kind of material to be done with good taste. And lo and behold, in the Word of God, it is done with the best taste possible. We are talking about a sensitive subject, a very private subject among couples, and that is that of sexual intercourse, of relationship on the deepest level for physical, emotional, and spiritual connection between 2 human beings, between a man and a woman. And so as we talk about this, it would have been so very easy to do what the world does and make this pornographic, make this inappropriate and dirty. But the writer of this book, the writer of the Song of Solomon, takes great care in speaking of this moment with the utmost of sacredness, and I believe that it's so important for us today in the kind of world where everything behind the closed door of a bedroom is opened up to the audiences of movies and TV and even in the public square. I think it's so important that we take note that while this is in the text, it is poetic, it flows, and I will say this one other thing. I'll mention it again in the next video on the rest of chapter 4, that the actual moment of intercourse is not mentioned in the book. This is all foreplay, and all of chapter 4 is foreplay. In chapter 5, when we start that, we will see, hey, it's already happened and now they're moving on. So what I love about the text of the Bible is that it's so tasteful in the way that it presents even this most intimate thing. I like that God is not silent on the matter of sex at all, and then whenever he does speak, it's poetic, it's beautiful, and it's not dirty and pornographic. I love that, because our world changes that. When you look at this is some of the most often quoted parts of the Song of Solomon from any pulpit that I've ever heard Song of Solomon even broached as a subject. And what I want to say about this is the man is speaking here, and he is admiring his wife. I want to make that clear. His wife. Okay, they've talked about one another before, but now they're in a wholly different new ballgame. It's a very different thing to be even pledged to be married, to be even fiancé. It's a whole nother matter when you start your life together physically, emotionally, spiritually, economically, and you come together as one in the ceremony, and then when you consummate the marriage together for the first time. What I love about this text is that the man is being kind. He's talking about his wife. He's admiring her beauty. He's admiring her. If you look at the whole of it, he's going from her head, and he continues to go down as he sort of looks at her in whole. You get this sense from the ending of our text today about verse 7, 6 or 7 there, that she's a little, she's not ready yet. She's a little apprehensive because she's still a virgin. And I can tell you about that in the next video, how we know that for a fact, why we've been saying all this time that they're not married yet, so they haven't had sex yet. I can show you in the text how we know that in tomorrow's video. But for today, I want to mention how important it is for husbands to notice their wives, to let them know how beautiful they look to you, and often, as much as possible. I mean, Solomon does a play-by-play of how beautiful this woman he has just married is. And I think this is very important because when Solomon tells us about his wife, he is not telling us so that we can remember all this stuff about her. He is telling us because he can't believe what he's just gotten. He's just gotten this beautiful gift of this most beautiful woman among women, and he's so excited about it that he can't help himself. It's kind of like whenever guys talk about cars, mutual admirers of certain cars, or mutual admirers of, if you're more of a geek like me, computer systems and that kind of thing. It's like whenever you get together, you go, oh man, you should have seen the paint job on this thing. And whenever you open up the hood, I was like 480. I don't know anything about cars, but I know this: when two guys who know about cars get together and start talking about cars, they have this mutual awe for this car. In the same way, Solomon is he's like any guy who sees a beautiful woman, marries that beautiful woman, and goes, oh man, I'm so blessed. And he can't help himself. He has to say, this is the greatest thing in my life. This is a great... He's not lost for words. He's poetic. He's very specific. And it's really beautiful the way that he pulls things together. So let's talk about some of the details here. The hair like the flock of goats, running down the hills of Gilead. He's picturing her hair. Her hair would have probably been black, maybe a jet black even, and as it flows down her shoulders, that's what he's referring to. Notice that the veil that she's wearing is mentioned twice, and that tells us that it's their wedding night. It's the veil that she's wearing. Jewish culture would have the woman wear the veil through the whole night, and then in the morning she would begin to not wear the veil anymore. It's just part of their culture. A little bit different than ours. So she is wearing her veil as they meet and as they begin their foreplay. And that's exactly what this is. This is foreplay. I am not a married man, but let me tell you, gentlemen, I hear all the time from women, whether it's publicly or privately, women and foreplay are very important. It's very important to women, the whole issue of foreplay. She needs to know that you're not about the physical act of sex, that you're about her, and that you're going to do this together. This is just one of the things that you do together. But sex is the most intimate thing that a married couple shares. But you're sharing your life, you're sharing your finances, you're sharing your house, you're sharing everything. And so in one sense, sex is just another thing that you're sharing. And yet it's a very special thing that you're sharing, a very intimate and secure and only meant for you kind of thing that you share. You're going to have kids, and you're going to share your house with your kids. You're going to have kids, and you're going to share your money with your kids. Believe me, when they're standing in the store yelling and screaming, I want this, I want that, and you're like, okay, just to shut you up, you'll be sharing a lot of things in life with your family, with your kids, and with your extended family. But sex is yours and your spouse's only. That's why we talk about it being intimate and personal. And so as we look at this, the way that he describes her, he's talking about her eyes behind her veil. They glisten, they gleam. She's excited. In chapters 1 and 2 and 3, she has been inviting him, and they've been close to this moment, but they haven't pursued it beyond that beginning passion. They've even warned themselves twice. Let's not go too far here. Let's save ourselves for our marriage. So this will be special. Well, it's the night of the marriage. It's special. And we'll talk about that in our next video tomorrow as well. And so as we look at this, he talks about her eyes, he talks about her hair, he talks about her lips, he talks about her teeth. And by the way, whenever he talks about her teeth being like Shorn used, what he's saying is that they're perfect. They're just the right size. And whenever he says they have their twins, in other words, she's not missing any teeth. Now that sounds funny to us today because we have dentists, but they didn't have dentists back then. And so for her to have all of her teeth is actually pretty amazing. Most people probably would not have had all their teeth, even at this younger age. And they're all perfectly aligned. They're not like, all over the place or messed up. Perfectly aligned in their place. And he's just impressed with her beauty and the wholeness of her person. When he talks about her neck and talks about it being like a Tower of David, he's not saying that she has a long neck. What he's saying is it's a fortified neck. It's glorious, like the Tower of David. A Tower of David in military terms was this just beautifully fortified and magnificent structure. And so he's talking more about her magnificence and beauty than he is about actual attributes like her neck being longer than some other necks. Also, she probably has a necklace on, and it probably has stones in it, maybe even jewels. And so he brings up the shields and how it glistens as he is approaching her to begin to consummate the marriage as they're in their foreplay. He's basically telling her, you're beautiful. You are, everything about you I love. And we need to remember, because this has been said before, the necklace and the ointments and the things that she is wearing, the smell and the look, and they all add to the natural beauty of the woman. She doesn't have to wear that stuff to be beautiful. She already is beautiful, and she wears that stuff, and it enhances her beauty. Solomon is more concerned about her than her jewelry. And the same should be said of all married men today. One of the things that I want to bring up is actually the comment in verse 5. He says, your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle that graze among the lilies. And then in verse 6 he says, until the day breathes and the shadows flee. That should sound familiar to us because we've seen it in chapter 2, verse 17. But this is different. I will go away to the mountain of myrrh and the hill of frankincense. You are altogether beautiful, my love. In verse 7, there is no flaw in you. So what he's saying there is that her breasts are the only thing he's interested in. No one else is. This is all between him and her. It's all a very intimate moment. And he has no trouble telling her about her perfect form as far as he sees her. Now we know, of course, already, we have seen in chapters 1 and 2, that she's not so sure she's the most beautiful woman in the world. But he is. And he lets her know that. He makes sure that she knows that. And he uses poetry to do it. And guys, I got to tell you, I know most of us aren't poets by nature, but you know what? Poetry will go a long way. Words will go a long way. Your wife will love that. And hey, maybe you can learn a poem or two, and it won't hurt anything, I can promise you that. And what I love here is he reassures her, verses 1 and 7 Say, "You are beautiful, my love, you are very beautiful." And in verse 7, he changes it. "You are altogether beautiful." And so he's just talked about some of her features. He's not even finished, and he just can't help himself. "You're beautiful. You're altogether. There's nothing wrong with you. I love the woman I just married. I love every feature, everything about you. You're perfect." And that's the kind of thing that he's saying to her. So I want to encourage the men here. This final verse, in verse 8, he talks about coming away with him, coming away from Lebanon, coming out of these mountains and coming into the open. She seems a little sheepish, a little, she's not quite ready yet. There's a big difference between having that desire and then actually doing what you're wanting to do in that desire. And so she's kind of nervous about it because she's never done this before. And you know what? Neither is Solomon. So it's kind of this nervousness, and that's part of the intimate moment. No one else should be there or see or hear about your moments of intimacy with your spouse, ever. Those are not meant for the public. Those are meant for you and your spouse, privately, always. And as a single person, I can tell you this. We don't want to hear about it. We don't want to hear about it. So, you know what? Keep these things to yourself. Share them with your spouse. Part of the problem is that you let other people into your bedroom with what you tell people about your sex life and all of that. And then people will be, "Hey, that's kind of interesting. I'm really interested." And they'll start to create problems in your marriage. Keep this away from everyone. This is your moment. This is your experience and no one else's. So I want to encourage you in your marriage, especially the men. It's very important that you go through foreplay with your spouse, that you spend time letting her know how much you love her, how much you appreciate her, how much you enjoy her. If you do not do that, since it's one of the things that she seeks, she will find it somewhere. It's best that she finds it with you in your most intimate moment alone. So I want to encourage you in your marriage to stay pure to one another and to not allow any little foxes in. This is your time, this is your place, and this is your moment. So keep it that way. And I think your marriage will be very much better off for it. And so I hope that helps you today, and I hope you have a blessed day.